Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about a silent enemy that most people carry inside their bodies without even realizing it. It doesn't always show on the outside. You can be slim and still have it. You can exercise and still struggle with it. That enemy is visceral fat, the deep, dangerous fat that surrounds your organs and slowly damages your health. Visceral fat is not just about appearance. It is directly linked to heart disease, diabetes, fatty liver, high blood pressure, hormonal imbalance, and chronic inflammation. And the most shocking truth is this: the food you eat every day is either killing visceral fat or feeding it. Today, I'll reveal 3 common foods that secretly increase visceral fat, and more importantly, I'll show you how to take your power back. Visceral fat is not the same as the fat you can pinch under your skin. It is the deep internal fat that wraps itself tightly around your most vital organs, the liver, pancreas, intestines, and heart. Because it is hidden inside the abdominal cavity, many people don't even realize they have it. You may look normal on the outside, your weight may seem fine, your clothes may fit reasonably well, yet deep inside, this dangerous fat can still be growing and silently damaging your health. Unlike surface fat, visceral fat is metabolically active, which means it constantly releases harmful chemicals and inflammatory substances into your bloodstream. These substances disrupt normal hormone function, interfere with insulin sensitivity, place continuous stress on your cardiovascular system. Over time, this internal inflammation becomes the foundation for chronic conditions such as type 2 diabetes, heart disease, fatty liver, and high blood pressure. One of the most frightening aspects of visceral fat is that it directly interferes with how your organs function. When fat surrounds the liver, it affects blood sugar control and cholesterol regulation. When it surrounds the pancreas, insulin production and regulation become unstable. When it accumulates around the heart and blood vessels, it increases the risk of blockages, strokes, and cardiac events. This makes visceral fat far more dangerous than the fat you can see on the outside. What makes visceral fat especially deceptive is how quietly it develops. It builds up gradually through daily habits, poor diet choices, frequent sugar intake, high stress, inadequate sleep, and inactivity. There are often no warning signs in the early stages. No pain, no visible swelling, no immediate discomfort. Yet internally, damage is slowly accumulating, creating a perfect environment for long-term disease to take root. Refined sugar is one of the fastest and most powerful triggers of visceral fat accumulation in the human body. The moment refined sugar enters your system, causes a sharp and unnatural rise in blood glucose levels. Your body is forced to release large amounts of insulin to control this sudden spike. Insulin's primary job is to move sugar out of the bloodstream and into the cells, but when sugar consumption becomes frequent, insulin remains elevated for long periods, training the body to store energy instead of burning it. As insulin remains high, fat burning is switched off and fat storage is switched on. The body begins to prioritize the storage of excess sugar as fat, and the preferred storage site is deep within the abdominal cavity around vital organs. Over time, repeated insulin spikes lead to insulin resistance, a state where the cells stop responding properly to insulin. When this happens, the body releases even more insulin, accelerating the cycle of visceral fat gain and metabolic dysfunction. Another danger of refined sugar is its complete lack of nutritional value. It provides calories without vitamins, minerals, fiber, or protein. Because it digests rapidly, it creates quick energy followed by sudden crashes in blood sugar. These crashes trigger intense hunger, cravings, mood swings, and fatigue, pushing the person to consume even more sugar and refined carbohydrates, reinforcing the fat storage cycle. Hidden sugars make this problem even worse. Many people believe they avoid sugar because they do not eat desserts, yet they unknowingly consume large amounts through packaged foods, flavored yogurts, sauces, ketchup, fruit juices, energy drinks, breakfast cereals, and low-fat products. These hidden sources continually stimulate insulin, keeping the body in a constant fat storing mode even when a person believes they are eating responsibly. Refined carbohydrates are foods that have been stripped of their natural fiber, nutrients, and protective structure, leaving behind starch that rapidly converts into sugar inside the body. White bread, white rice, naan, biscuits, pastries, pasta made from refined flour, and packaged bakery items all fall into this category. The moment these foods are consumed, digestion begins breaking them down almost instantly into glucose, causing a rapid rise in blood sugar levels, similar to what happens with pure sugar. This sudden spike in blood sugar forces the pancreas to release large amounts of insulin to control it. Insulin then pushes the excess glucose into the cells for immediate use or storage. When the body's energy needs are already met, the extra glucose is converted into fat and stored. Over time, repeated exposure to refined carbohydrates keeps insulin levels elevated throughout the day, instructing the body again and again to store fat rather than burn it. Significant portion deposited as visceral fat. The absence of fiber in refined carbohydrates creates another serious problem: lack of satiety. Fiber slows digestion, stabilizes blood sugar, and keeps you full for longer periods. Refined carbs digest too quickly, leaving you hungry again within a short time. This leads to frequent snacking, overeating, and an increased total calorie intake without real nourishment, pushing the body deeper into a cycle of fat storage and metabolic imbalance. Refined carbohydrates also disrupt hormonal balance and energy control. Rapid rises and falls in blood sugar create fatigue, poor concentration, irritability, and intense cravings for more carbohydrate-rich foods. This roller coaster effect trains the brain to seek quick energy again and again, promoting emotional eating and dependency on processed foods, which steadily drives the accumulation of visceral fat deep inside the abdomen. Industrial seed oils and fried foods play a powerful role in promoting visceral fat through chronic inflammation within the body. These oils are highly processed, chemically altered, and unstable under heat. When they are heated repeatedly, as in deep frying, they produce toxic byproducts that enter the bloodstream and trigger widespread inflammatory responses. This inflammation directly interferes with normal metabolic function and disrupts the body's ability to regulate fat storage and fat burning. Inflammation caused by these oils affects insulin sensitivity at the cellular level. When cells become inflamed, they respond poorly to insulin, forcing the pancreas to release even more insulin to keep blood sugar under control. Elevated insulin remains one of the strongest signals for fat storage. Stored fat preferentially accumulates in the abdominal cavity. Over time, this leads to persistent fat deposition around vital organs, strengthening the grip of visceral fat on the body. Fried foods also combine multiple metabolic stressors in a single meal: refined carbohydrates, unstable fats, and excess calories. This combination overwhelms the body's natural regulatory systems. The digestive system is forced to deal with oxidized fats and rapidly digesting starches at the same time, increasing oxidative stress and inflammation. The liver in particular becomes overburdened, leading to greater fat production and storage within the body. Regular consumption of these oils also disrupts hormonal signaling that controls appetite and energy balance. Leptin, the hormone responsible for signaling fullness, becomes less effective in an inflamed environment. Ghrelin, the hormone that stimulates hunger, becomes overactive. As a result, the individual feels hungry more often, eats larger portions, and struggles to feel satisfied, while the body remains locked in a state that favors visceral fat accumulation deep within the abdomen. Insulin resistance is the core metabolic condition that allows visceral fat to become stubborn and deeply rooted inside the body. Under normal conditions, insulin acts like a key that opens the cell door and allows glucose to enter for energy. But when the body is constantly exposed to high levels of sugar and refined carbohydrates, the cells begin to lose their sensitivity to insulin. This forces the pancreas to release more and more insulin just to achieve the same effect, creating a state of chronic hyperinsulinemia. When insulin remains elevated for long periods, fat burning is almost completely blocked. The body receives a continuous signal that energy must be stored rather than used. In this state, even if a person reduces calories or increases exercise, the body resists releasing stored fat because the hormonal environment is still dominated by insulin. Visceral fat becomes the preferred storage site because it is metabolically active and easily accessible for rapid energy storage. Insulin resistance also alters the way the liver handles fat. Instead of properly processing and exporting fat, the liver begins to accumulate fat within its own tissue. This condition, commonly known as fatty liver, further worsens insulin resistance. As liver function declines, blood sugar control becomes unstable and the body shifts even more aggressively into fat storage mode, especially within the abdominal cavity. Another critical effect of insulin resistance is its impact on hunger and satiety signals. Cells are unable to absorb glucose efficiently, leaving the body in a state of internal energy starvation despite high blood sugar levels. The brain interprets this as a need for more food, triggering intense hunger and cravings, particularly for sugary and carbohydrate-rich foods, which strengthens the cycle of insulin elevation and visceral fat accumulation. Exercise is powerful for building strength, improving heart health, and boosting mood, but when it comes to visceral fat, exercise alone is often not enough to produce real change if dietary habits remain poor. Many people work out regularly yet see little to no reduction in belly fat because the hormonal signals driving fat storage are still active. When insulin remains consistently elevated due to poor food choices, the body is biochemically locked into fat storage mode, regardless of how much physical activity is performed. Physical activity does burn calories, but visceral fat is governed more by hormones than by simple calorie balance. A person can burn hundreds of calories during a workout. If their post-exercise meals trigger high insulin spikes, the body will quickly replace that burned energy and store even more fat. This is why some individuals feel frustrated despite being consistent with exercise. They are fighting against their own biochemistry without correcting the internal environment. Intense exercise without proper nutritional support can also increase stress hormones such as cortisol. When cortisol remains elevated for long periods, it promotes fat storage specifically in the abdominal region. Creates a situation where excessive training combined with poor diet actually worsens visceral fat accumulation instead of reducing it. The body perceives constant stress and responds by conserving and protecting energy in the form of deep abdominal fat. Another overlooked factor is muscle recovery and metabolic adaptation. Without proper nutrition, the body struggles to repair